Welcome in, everybody. Hang on, having some technical issues. It's like a Tuesday all over. Oh, what is going on? Oh my goodness, you're not a streamer if you don't have problems.
Yeah. All right.
All right, lost my camera. Awesome sauce. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the Crossroads.
I got delay on my tablet.
Lordy,
It's
lordy,
funny.
lordy. All right, what is going on? I think my web camera died. Ooh. Hey, there we go.
There you are. Now I can see you.
Nice, nice. What a handsome fellow. Welcome in, everybody, to the season 1, episode 1 of The Crossroads. We have special guest Darren Buss. He's the founder of MGS Paranormal, Midwest Ghost Seekers, right?
Yep.
All right.
That's in my hat.
Yeah. Oh, almost as blind as you are, buddy. Old age. So, tell us a little about yourself there.
All right. So, a little bit about myself. I am 45 of age, and I just started my MGS Paranormal in March of 2020. And so, after that, things kind of starting to trickle along, getting a little bit better for myself in the field as it is. But before all that, so yeah, I had my first paranormal experience when I was at the age of 7. I was at a friend's basement. Parents were upstairs; their kids were gone, so it was just by myself. And so, what happened? I was playing pool ball myself, like a normal 7-year-old would, and I had a TV against the wall. So I'm kind of painting a picture for you guys. But I had a TV against the wall, black and white, which you had to physically turn on. And then I had in the background like a gun rack and a coat rack, stuff like that. And then on the other side was a bar. So I'm sitting there playing pool, and basically the TV, like I said, you have to manually turn the TV on. The TV turned on by itself, which kind of freaked me out in a way. I'm like, whatever, you're 7, and and then I always had this feeling at the back in the back that the coat rack was moving. So so with that, I was like, okay, whatever. So as I turned off the TV and unplugged it, need I remind you, from the wall, I kept on playing, and next thing you know, TV turns back on again. So I'm like, okay, this is nuts. I unplugged it from the wall. Why did it come back on? You're thinking maybe electronics in the background stirred something up, but when you unplug something, you unplug something. So, and then I tried to quickly hurry up and finish my pool game. And as I went back with the pool stick, I hit something, and here that rack that was 20 feet back behind me ended up standing right next to me. So, uh, 2 paranormal events at one time was very freaky for me. I just said, okay, that's enough. I ran upstairs. I was never coming back down by myself. So, and we did play with a Ouija board. Need I remind you that, um, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was just a board game and stuff like that. So we just didn't think nothing of it, but it must have hosted the spirit in. So, and then fast forward, um, let's see. I've had the old hag syndrome happen to me once
Yeah.
because watching the Blair Witch, which really fucked my head up. Um, for some reason, I got the old hag going on. That she comes right on top of you, and it was weird. And my room was like upside down and full of blood. And I'm like, what the hell? And I go run downstairs, tell my parents, and I'm like, hey, something's wrong with my room. Something's wrong with the room. They come up, and it's all normal again.
That's weird.
Yeah, so that was trippy. And then let's see, my girlfriend, now wife, her apartment was really strange because in the olden days the bedrooms were like they had that marble flooring in it and stuff.
Yeah.
And so she never would sleep in her room. I'm like, well, why don't you sleep in your room? And she's like, well, I don't like sleeping in rooms. Something scares me in there. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And she had a really thick and heavy wooden bed. And so it was right directly in the middle of the room. And then the next morning we went in her room, here it's cock off to the side. And I'm like, did you get up and push that? She's like, no, I can't even move it. So we both pulled it back to the middle again. And then we left. I had to work. She worked, came back to her house the next day. And here it's pushed out the other way. So her wooden bed would move on its own in that room. Come to find out that somebody hung themselves in her apartment and she didn't know about it. So,
Oh, wow.
So it was just kind of weird. But other than that, I mean, those were the paranormal experiences. Other than my first house that we bought, that I felt like somebody was watching me. And come to find out when we bought the second house, my wife didn't tell me that she saw a spirit the first day we moved in. Well,
Nice.
thanks. You waited 2 years to tell me?
Better late than never.
Right. I mean, I don't know. It was a really offsetting house. I mean, again, we had some really weird experiences with that one. We were close to the college, so Party City, USA, closer to the Four Corner bars. So you get your drunks that walk past and throw up in the middle of your yard because we had a frat house across the street from us. And so 2:30 in the morning, I hear this bang, bang, bang against the door, and where our bedroom is, you can see directly down who's in the front door.
Yeah.
And I didn't see anybody at the front door, so I'm like, well, what the hell is pounding going on? So I'm like, all right, fine. I'm gonna grab a bat and I'm gonna go down the stairs. So I went down the stairs, and as soon as I got to the last step, it stopped. And I'm like, okay, this is screwed up. So I went back upstairs, went back into bed, and 5 minutes later, bang, bang, bang. Grabbed the bat, ran downstairs, stopped. Then I went to the door, opened it up, and looked in the attic, or not the attic, the deck and all that stuff, and I'm like, what the heck? Open the front door, nobody's there. So the next morning, I get up, go to the front door to take a look at it and see like what all happened. Like someone was taking like a 2x4 to the door.
Yeah.
And my door's metal. Here, I have a little dent in the middle of my door.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, messed up.
Huh.
So, but other than that, like everybody watches the paranormal shows. They started back in 2004. Me and my wife were very interested at that point. We were hooked. 2017, I says, hey, you know what? As much as we've watched these shows, I think we can do this. We can go out and go to the haunted locations and stuff like that instead of going to big haunted houses, which I got kicked out of, plenty of them. So I'm like, well, let's try it, see how it goes. So the first location we went to was let's see here, was the Sheboygan Asylum. We went to 4 hours, granted. Couldn't use any of the equipment. We had to stay in a 20-person group. It was
miserable.
What's that?
Miserable.
Yeah, I mean, it was miserable. We couldn't break off. Couldn't go anywhere. It was. Oh, I'm sorry. Backtrack. The Greenville train station was the first investigation we went, and that was at that point. That place was. I'll get back to the Sheboygan Asylum in a minute, but that was our very first one. We hit that twice in a year's time. Um, that place used to be four different businesses: a brothel, a bar, a funeral home, which was the longest business, and then I think a consignment shop. And so that was the first time I ever got something thrown at me in the basement, which was a rock. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And here I'm trying to be quiet, and I got a digital voice recorder going. I'm like, I'm hearing my breath, 'cause I was freaking out. I had a rock thrown at me. Who has a rock thrown at them every day? So unless it's a kid playing with you. But yeah, that was kind of cool. That also is the first time that my wife heard her name come through a spirit box for the first time, which really freaked her out. Um, so, but there's a place
Mhm.
called Leopis, which is up by Chilton area. It was a house turned into a bed and breakfast. Pretty haunted location in
Yeah.
itself. They have the previous, the first owners, I want to say, are buried in the backyard.
Really
So yeah, that's pretty interesting.
neat.
And just down the side of the road, there's a church with a big cemetery right down in that area too. So, um, but then yeah, then came the Sheboygan Asylum, um, which happens to be run by an unnamed person, I would say at this point. Um, and because I don't do that. I don't. The person that I have issues with, I don't bash them online. So, um, but you go to these locations, you pay $160 for 4 hours,
Mhm.
and you're not allowed to use your equipment, and you're supposed to stay in a 20-man group. And this place is huge. I mean, we're talking 300,000 square feet or more. They say it's bigger than Waverly Hills. I don't see it, but they say it is. But yeah, I mean, that
Nice.
was after that. I was like, this is cool. This is something I can really get into and sink my
Yeah.
teeth into. Um, and then from there, I was kind of at a crossroads a little bit as what did I really want to do, as far as like, I go to work, I work at a factory, so it's
Mhm.
like I got to have an extracurricular activity. I used to be a bowler for 16 years,
Yeah.
and that was getting old. It was getting stale. So I was like, I got to find something else to do. And so I happened to turn to Facebook in 2018. I've probably been in it for a while, but paranormal wise, I turned to Facebook, and I happened to come across Roland and Cynthia Derodius of Raven Rose Paranormal. And since from there, it is, you know, here we are today.
You've grown a lot since then.
I mean, yeah, it's like I didn't know a whole lot,
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, just learning, starting out, get small little gears, and don't spend money on the big stuff just yet. Just kind of learn what you get when you get it.
Yeah.
But I become this person that I never really thought I would ever be, uh, which happens to be the question man.
Yes.
And so that's kind of where I've really found my suit in the paranormal field is the person that asks the tough questions
Yeah.
that people have a hard time asking or are too afraid to ask, because there is no dumb question in the paranormal field unless you don't ask one.
Right.
And we're all learning at some state or form. And to better yourself is to watch Facebook interviews like this, or on Twitch, like we're starting tonight, and watching the Facebook lives. When people do paranormal investigations,
Mm-hmm.
that's where you learn. You learn different styles. You
Right.
learn different people, different personalities. What would you work with? What wouldn't you work with?
Right.
That type
Yeah,
of
because
thing.
there's no real one way of doing it. I mean, there's multiple ways of ghost hunting.
Well, the one way I
And
wouldn't do is the Zach Baggins.
the douchebagging.
I mean, I wouldn't say, come on, spirit, come hurt me, come do this
Right.
to my friend. I mean,
No.
that's if you're
Yeah.
starting out like that, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want something to hurt you in this field, which none of us none of us want anybody to get hurt in the field
Right.
whatsoever. I mean, we're all looking for the same thing, trying different techniques. You know, what technique works for me may not work for you. What
Mm-hmm.
works for you may not work for me.
Right.
But if we can come on that common level
Mm-hmm.
as to we can have the same thing work for the both of us,
Right.
now we're gaining ground, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and that's, Raven Rose Paranormal was the caterpillar for me to getting started in podcasting. I never thought I would be in podcasting ever. I mean, this blind face. I mean, come on. I just that's just the way the story was written for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had Roland Gerodius, which has now passed a little over 2 years, and God rest his soul. Miss him dearly,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a hard one for me.
Yeah.
Um, it's just because I learned a lot of podcasting from him,
Mm-hmm.
and to assert myself and how to do things.
Yeah.
Um, and missing that part of doing this journey and to see how far I've come since he's passed.
Right.
It's,
Oh, he'd definitely be proud of you, man. I mean, you've come a long ways. He was a great influence, a great mentor to you.
I mean,
And yeah.
I mean, it's and me and his wife, Cynthia, we, try to keep doing the freaky squeaky when she's got time.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, in it's all about um, subject.
Right.
What subject works, what subject hits people in a certain way, having your resources set in a certain way, because that was the thing with him is like you got to have
Mhm.
the resources to back up what you're talking. Because in hindsight, in the background, he was always afraid that if we didn't have the resource and we weren't accurate, uh, he'd be afraid we get sued from somebody.
All right.
Uh,
And that was a legitimate claim, especially nowadays. Everybody's so freaking sue happy. And freaking
right.
you say something bad about somebody, oh, I'm gonna sue you, blah blah blah.
And that's just it. People are out there to make money.
Mhm.
If you're going in this paranormal field looking to make money, you might as well turn around and go do something else, because
Mhm.
you're not going to make it.
No.
Podcasting, I haven't made a dime in podcasting.
Mhm.
I do it because I love doing it. I
Right.
love interviewing people. I like people to come in and listen to what we do on the Paranormal Brew and the BB3 TV networks,
Mhm.
and YouTube as well. MGS Paranormal YouTube channel, by the way, small
Mhm.
plug. And then you got the radio format, which is Paranormal Buzz Radio, which is the Paranormal Bus Stop on every third Monday of the month, which starting this coming up Monday at 6 p.m. Central Time, which can be found on Spreaker.com.
Mhm.
And so, that's what we find. And along with the podcasting, I try to bring the best out of people, and get them to answer stuff that people sometimes have a hard time
Yeah.
coming across.
The
And
uncomfortable questions.
that, and it's you touch a nerve,
Mhm.
but it's in the long run. I've had plenty of people that tell me after the interview that we had, especially with the questions from the audience, that they say, "Hey, thank you. That was a really good podcast. Um, I never expected to be the way how I was on there." I mean,
Yeah.
it's so when you can bring that person out in the limelight of the show
Mhm.
and show a whole different side of them that they never thought they would be or
Yeah.
show, you're doing your job,
Mhm.
and that's what I like.
Yeah.
And it's a special feeling when it's you get that A show, and it's like afterwards, like damn, I nailed it. It's great.
Yeah.
You know, but
And
go ahead.
yeah. I mean, I've known you what 5 years now, 6 years,
About that, yep.
and yeah. I mean, you've really grown. You've really got out there, out of your comfort zone,
hmm Oh,
and
I was nervous on those cookie shows, man. I tell you, I shit you not, I was shaking. Nervous as all hell.
yeah.
I actually be drinking before the show just to calm my nerves. That's how bad I was.
Yeah.
But I've not come to the point where now I'm just drinking a liter of Mountain Dew and
Mm-hmm.
going with the flow is how the audience goes.
Right.
You got to work out with the audience because if you ignore the audience in the show, what's the point of having the show?
Right.
The show is geared for them. It's what they want to know. It's what they want to. They're there to learn about the locations, the
Yeah.
gear, the people, the teams, the shows, all that stuff. Because sometimes they don't even know what they're getting themselves into.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's actually give some shout outs. Thank you for coming in, Forsaken, Queen Shorty, our mods, Morphine, welcome in, JP, Funkdown, and Poodles. Did I see Poodles? I saw Poodles.
I think
She's lurking around here somewhere, doing the poodle thing.
Thank you all for coming in tonight and watching the show. Greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. We got a couple viewers over on YouTube. Don't know
Awesome.
who you are, but we appreciate you. If any of you have any questions at all, please put them in.
Seat.
Yep. He loves
I
it.
put
He
everybody
loves
on
to squirm, man. He loves it.
That's what I do with a lot of my shows on Spreaker. That they have all their shows on there. Speaking of which, right now REP Paranormal is on right now. Normally I would be in chat, so I'd like to put the guest on the hot seat.
Yes, you do.
And in return, I will take it as much as I give it. So, and I don't have a problem with that. I mean,
yeah.
just push the shove,
Right.
you know. But recently, I mean, I've really become more active in 2019 in the paranormal field of going to actual locations and doing stuff like that, and getting mixed up with the Connor sisters,
Mhm.
Rebecca Williamson of the Cambry House, Raven Rose Paranormal, like I mentioned before, um, RP Paranormal. There's a lot of people that you know that I have investigated with. We Are Paranormal is the latest I hooked up with. So they've been a lot of fun to work with.
Mhm.
Wendigo Paranormal, stuff like that. So um, there's been a lot of locations I've been to. Like I said, Cambry House, Melbourne Manor. That's an awesome place. If you've not been to, get
It's on my
there.
list. It's on the list.
Cambry House. That's another place you got to get
Yeah.
there. And then you got Broadhead Manor, which is Bill Wolter. He's awesome. So is Ron. Those two run Broadhead Manor in Broadhead, Wisconsin. 60,000 square foot middle school.
Nice.
Great place. You're going to find a lot of good stuff. Key is, you got to be in a good mood. If you're in a shit mood, you ain't going to get nothing. So you got to be
They
in a
like
good
to
mood.
party.
Yes, they do. And then, of course, the one that I do the bookings for is the Washoe County Historical Museum in Watoma, Wisconsin. And yeah, come on down, give me a call. Look me up on Facebook,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
then just message me on Messenger if you want to.
We have some of your social links here.
Yeah, feel free to contact me if you get the itch and the nerve to come down. I mean, I'll show you the place, and if it's just your first time investigating, hey, why not? Great place to start. Um, we got a lot of spirits there. It's a
Mhm.
jail/house.
Mention
There's
Rev Maddie and you'll get a 20% increase in your ticket price.
right, right.
He'll charge you extra.
So I mean, it's a great location. Definitely a great place to start out if you want to get into locations. There are some locations that I would say not to start out at. It's just because of the nature of the place,
Mm,
and that you may not be ready for. You
all
know,
right.
I've had plenty of people at work. It's like I had one guy in particular. He's like, "Hey, I really want to go,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like if something happens, I'm just not sure how I'm going to react." Uh-oh.
For a second, was that you? Mm.
But I mean, that's kind of how it goes. I
Yeah.
mean, like the Velisca Axe Murder House, I would say recommend not be a first place to go to.
Mm.
Um, that's a heavy place with a
Yeah.
heavy heart.
Pretty intense.
Yes, very intense place. Some for others it may not be because
Mm.
they're been to all the ones out east, like the Lizzie Borden House and
Mm.
other more intense locations.
Yeah.
Um, but for others, it's a real hard time, especially for women. It's very hard
Mm-hmm.
there.
Well,
Um,
considering what happened there with the murder of the children and whatnot, it's a really a gruesome
yeah,
murder scene.
I mean it ties in with the Lizzie Borden house in a
Yeah.
way,
Mm-hmm.
but the Lizzie Borden didn't deal with children like
Mm-hmm.
the Phyllis Murder house did.
Right.
So and both cases are actually still wide open
Mm-hmm.
because they can't prove that Lizzie Borden did the killings, can they yet? Or did they determine that she was?
Um, I'm not sure.
Because I know the list is still unsolved.
Yeah, I believe it still is. Miss
And
Tiamat, welcome in.
And so they have Melbourne Manor connected with the Lisk Axe Murder House because there's a train track that would interconnect the both towns.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just kind of wondering if the killer stayed overnight at the Melbourne Manor place. It used to be a hotel back in the day,
Right.
so he stayed there and planned all his murders and stuff like that. They said that he was a German reverend, from what I understand.
Mm.
And now, with just talking to Nick and Aaron from 28 Days Haunted, and slash Ghostwriter, if you want to know that part. They said that he went back actually to Germany and killed some more people, I think.
Yes, I believe I heard that. Yes. Yeah.
So, who knows? Hindsight, who knows what happens?
Mm-hmm.
The Reverend comes through the spirit box on a regular basis. So I mean, that's just one of those things. I mean, does he come back
Right.
sometimes? And that's the thing we don't know about
Right.
these murders, if they actually come back
It's
to the
kind
scene
of
of the
a
crime.
Jack the Ripper.
Yeah,
H.H. Holmes or whatever it is.
right.
Yeah. Mm.
So I mean, it's an interesting story to say the least, and we all of us paranormal people get our spirit boxes out, our digital
Mm-hmm.
voice recorders, and just waiting to get
Mm-hmm.
that confirmation, that answer that yes, that's what happened. That's
Yeah.
who did it. And I think it's I don't think we're ever gonna get it. Honestly,
Mm,
we
you
may.
never know.
I might be dead and buried by the time we get it, but
Right.
it's one of those things that it's a very touching story because
The nature
in
of it.
fact this same year was which I thought at some point. Now murders happened in April, right?
Say that again.
Did the murders happen in April? I can't remember what Aaron and Nick
Was it?
because
I thought it was in February. All right. I have so many
I don't know.
places,
I don't have
history
I have
of
my
many
notes.
places in my head. I usually end
Right.
up getting them all messed up. Thanks for the biddies.
So I see when they did the Q&A when they were at the museum this past Saturday. Um, great guys.
Mhm.
You guys got to meet them. I thought that the Titanic did sink that same year.
Yeah.
I just thought it was at the same time as the murders happened, but I found out later on that it was not.
Okay.
That I think Titanic sank in June or July or something like that.
Mm.
And then that's the story that took, I think, the Alaska axe murders off the newspapers, which replaced it, I think.
Yeah.
So, if Aaron and Nick are in here, they can correct me. Uh, but anyhow, I mean that's just one of those. Like I said, it's one of those locations. There's a lots of locations out there you can go to. I'm very
Oh
one
yeah.
big on the Amityville Horror House, which a lot of people say there's nothing going on. I think there is still, but we'll never know unless we
Cover up.
investigate it.
Cover
Yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah. But I mean,
No. Did you go to Sally's house?
no, I have not yet. I have
Yeah.
not gone to Sally's house. However, there is a story with Sally's house. So, Raven Rose Paranormal, Debbie Barton, and I believe Kelly McCarville
Mm-hmm.
were there.
Yeah.
And I want to say, I want to say 2019 it was. So what happened was, okay, so they went upstairs. There was a room with all the toys and whatnot and stuff. And so they decided to leave a Facebook Live going. And then they booked it to get something to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I had my ANC headphones on and was listening to what was going on. Because if you guys haven't done it or tried it yet on Facebook Live, have your ANC headphones on. You would be listening to everything. You make it feel like you're actually at the location yourself. Um, and so Kim, she was in chat with me, and oh man, I heard so many things going on in that house. It was crazy.
Nice.
And then the weirdest thing, what happened, is I got my very first doppelganger effect over Facebook Live. And
Nice.
I'm like, what the heck is this? I'm like, in the kitchen, I can hear downstairs in the kitchen, I can hear Cynthia's voice, and I'm like, Cynthia, and I'm texting them,
Mm-hmm.
on the phone and stuff. Are you guys still there, or are you guys gone? And it's like, you've been gone for the last 15 minutes. Seriously. She's like, yeah, like because I could hear your voice down in the kitchen, plain as day.
Nice.
And she says, no, we're gone. You'll have to play the video back. And sure enough, they played the video back, and they, turn around and says, yeah, yeah, I can hear my voice. So it was a catch on Facebook Live, and it's a rarity to get that doppelganger effect.
Right.
And you're not. And so for those of you who don't know what a doppelganger is a doppelganger is a mimic of your voice, which we also could call a mimic spirit. And then also, it can portray yourself in front of your loved one as walking past or whatever, thinking it's you, when it's actually not you. So you have that full body apparition of a doppelganger. But you're not supposed to see your own doppelganger, because
It's a
if you see your own
harbinger.
doppelganger, technically you're supposed to die then.
Mm.
So you'd never want to see your own doppelganger. But then I flip the script a little bit, and I say, okay, if you see your own doppelganger, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna sit there and look at it, or
Right.
say ask some questions and try to have a conversation with it, But then again, if you're gonna die afterwards, now
You
rethink
might.
that question. I don't think I want to do that. You know?
I mean, if you've seen it, you might as well start asking some questions because,
Yeah, if you have a better eye, can I borrow that eye? I can use it. You have a better hairline, that sort of thing. I mean, it's
yeah.
have a little joke,
Mhm.
But I asked a lot of questions, like, okay, holy water, is it really is it really holy water, or is it just water?
Mhm.
But then again, it's about intent.
Exactly. Exactly.
How you make of it, what
Mhm.
you use it like. I could say I would take holy water and get it blessed and say, okay, this is my guard, this is my saving light from trouble. Same thing, but the thing is you got to believe in it.
Yeah,
If you don't believe in it, it's not going to help you.
exactly. You have to have faith.
Right. I mean, I could bring $1 from a strip joint to say, this is my savior right here. I have full belief in this dollar. This dollar is going to save my ass from whoever comes near me.
But the thing is, though, it was
It may be a stinky dollar,
it,
but it might work.
it was blessed by the sweat of Dolly.
But it's anything. It could be anything. As long as
Mm-hmm.
you have faith in it and you know
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be your protection for
Right.
where you're at,
Yep.
it will help you.
Yep.
So, other than that, I mean, I there's a bucket list of places I want to get to. Um, but
What's the top five?
top five?
Top five.
Okay, well, now I have to think again. Amityville is one. That's always going to be number one.
Yeah.
Lizzie Borden House, Waverly Hills.
Overpriced. Overpriced.
Yes. um, Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
Mm.
And let's see, fifth one. Goodness, this will be hard. List Murder House.
Nice.
So, that's my top five for now. It could change.
All right. So, what kind of gear do you and your team? Actually, let's talk about your team. How many do you have?
Yes. So my team, for years, since 2020 March, it was just me and my wife, and so she's one that I use. She's more like the driver because I can't drive at night
Mm.
to go to places, so she likes to drive. Well, not long distances. I'll get that out there right now. Long distances, forget about it. So I look for stuff in Wisconsin to do.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, I mean, I've added more people to my team within this last year. Last year, I added Scott Bowser, which he is an author that has written 2 Ed Gein books, and he's the historian behind Ed Gein. And he's my gear guy. He's got all the equipment, all the goodies. So he's a great guy to work with. Just wants to hop right into it and get to it.
Yeah.
And then we have our medium, which is Michelle Jakubowski. So she does a really good job of her mediumship and stuff like that. And she's not much like a gear type of person. She relies on herself, which most mediums do.
Mm-hmm.
And so she does a good job. She likes the SS method is her favorite thing to do. So, and then channeling. And then just recently added Nathaniel Henning. He is also another. He approached me and was wanting to be part of a paranormal team, and so I took him out to the theater here in Oshkosh, which we did an event with, or a ghost hunting event with Wendigo Paranormal,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, hey, come along, I'll test you out. I want to see what you can do,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what I like to do before I bring people on, and I want to test them out. Because sometimes it's all about team dynamics,
Right.
and what works and what doesn't work,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to have everything that works good. Otherwise, what's a team that doesn't work?
Right.
So I said, okay, well, why don't you gather up information about the theater and see what you come up with, and do some digging and all that stuff, because that's I want to see how he does in that, as far as researching and all that stuff goes, and then I could test him as like doing EVP sessions, doing the camera work, stuff like that.
Right.
Because it's always nice to have someone that knows camera work a lot. Because I try, but I can admit I'm not a very good camera
I am the worst.
and he likes being behind the camera a lot. So I'm like,
Yeah.
that's an added plus. So so he came back with before we got to the theater with all this information. He actually went to the Oshkosh Library to pull all the information out,
Nice.
and I'm like, wow. I mean, that blew me away that he went that far, and I'm like, hey, let's see if there's any deaths that are returned to the area because it used to be a huge, like a hotel and
Mhm.
all that stuff, and because this building burned down because there's a great fire in 1875, um, that it burned a huge block of Main Street and all that stuff,
Yeah.
and then went back towards the lake. So it was quite a huge fire, one of six, I want to say, of fires.
Nice.
And so he came back and found out there's actually two people that died because of the fires, but weren't actually connected to the theater itself.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, you come up with those two names, was impressive.
Mm.
So when we got there, we started talking about the people who died or the fire and all that stuff, which is kind of funny because in the theater part where we were at, um, to remind you, I mean, this is a big place. I mean, not a big place. It was a small place. It was a two-tier theater.
Mhm.
Uh, I want to say roughly 2,500, 3,000 square feet. Okay, it's not a very big.
Right.
I mean, it could be more than that by because I couldn't get the actual dimension. Um, but it's definitely a place for a small group, not for a big group, because
Mm.
what we found, it was just awfully tough to do an investigation because we had 13 people there.
Yeah.
Where
Contaminating.
everything compiles on top of each other's stuff, and you got
Yeah.
to be quiet, and you can't because you're hearing people come up from the basement, and
Mhm.
so it was a tough location overall. Um, and interesting enough, I went back in the EVPs, and as we were talking about the fire, because we use a spirit box called Spirit Talker, it's an app on the phone. It's been one of the most accurate apps I've used. It's only $4, Android and Apple compatible. Um, and what was so interesting about that app is it said burn. So I'm like, okay.
Mm.
So I was like, now you're talking about the fires. So now we're talking about the fires, and as we are talking about the fires, you can hear in the background on the recorder, we didn't have no acknowledge what was going on because we never heard it. None
Yeah.
of us, never. All three of us didn't hear it, but you can hear fire truck sirens in the background.
Nice.
And it went through this AC. It was pretty loud AC equipment, but
Mhm.
you could still it got louder through the AC. But as soon as we stopped talking about it, it just cut out.
That's
So it's
strange.
kind of
Yeah.
fitting how that all tied in.
Yeah.
So, but then later on at night there was more police and fire trucks going down the street. So
Mhm.
you know, but just the way how we start talking about it, and all of a sudden you hear that in the
Right.
background, that don't happen.
And especially when you didn't hear it with your ears.
Yeah,
Yeah.
none of us said anything about when we were talking about it.
Yeah.
So clearly we didn't hear it.
Mm.
So, so yeah, I mean, so that was impressive. He did some video work, and then we had the Valentine's investigation at the museum in Watoma Saturday, which we had Nick Simons and Aaron G. Thompson from 28 Days Haunted / Ghost Prior. They were there in person,
Mhm.
which was really awesome. And so they did a Q&A, and after the Q&A, I say, let's take a break, and
Mhm.
we'll split up into teams.
Yeah.
And, he ended up investigating with both those guys that whole night, because I did not, because I wanted the people who paid to be at the event to
Mhm.
investigate with them, because that's
Right.
what we're there for. So that was great. I heard a lot of great feedback the way how he was investigating. Everybody enjoyed the way how he was investigating. So I figured, all right, the event's now over. It's midnight. All team members down in the basement. I said, okay. I want to formally announce that he's going to be joining our team. because just from the theater and from talking to the guy,
Yeah.
it was a definite good match for the team.
Right.
Um, I just like how he conducts himself and just the way how he researches stuff. That's what really drew me about him is his ability for researching.
Mm-hmm.
We were looking at the Carson Nest Hotel, which is in Kewanee, Wisconsin,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Yeah, can you do some research on this place, and just kind of let me know what you come up with?"
Mm-hmm.
So I gave him a few days. He comes back and says, "Okay, I got six packets ready for everybody." Well, holy crap! So I wasn't ready for that, and
That's awesome.
I mean, it's like he knew
Mm.
exactly what was all going on,
Nice.
what did what was the haunting all about. He went as far back as what past paranormal investigators had caught,
Yeah.
and that's super helpful because if you
Mm-hmm.
can touch on the same things when you get there,
Exactly.
I mean, there's common ground.
I mean, a lot of the places they have out in the open of what their claims are, but you actually have to go in and do research at the city hall, wherever,
Hmm.
and kind
And
of
they
dig
look at you
into it.
weird when you're doing that too.
They do. They do. That they do. And yeah, I mean, the data that you get when doing an investigation, will start lining up with what you research with. It just makes the whole experience so much better.
Hmm.
It's amazing feeling when you really have that connection to the past and what you're getting now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, granted, those are people. There are people that just don't want to know nothing and go in cold,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and that's okay
Yep.
too. You can do that as well.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, and then
that's.
you just
Mm-hmm.
have to figure out what you get on your digital
Yep.
voice recorders and your cameras, which I have a ton to go through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I also got a series coming up, or I just started actually this past Monday on YouTube, the MGS Paranormal YouTube channel. Um, I have started a thing called EVP Sessions. So with the EVP Sessions is that I will talk about the place that we're at, and sometimes I may not, but I will throw the whole EVP session out there, and the object is that I may have a description down below as to what I caught,
Right.
and this does require headphones, so because you can't just listen to it and think you're gonna hear it, because you're gonna need headphones for this stuff. Um, and so basically asking you if you can compare what I caught, and if you find something else different, they'll have gives me a chance to go back and re-listen.
Nice.
Uh, so that's the whole
Mm-hmm.
purpose and key behind it. Now, some of these sessions could be a half hour, they could be over an hour and a half long.
Mm-hmm.
So just take your time if you go through them, because I'm very interested in what you catch.
All right.
And I think I don't ever see this on YouTube. People doing this,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I want to see how well it goes.
Nice.
So EVP sessions plans on every Monday dropping around 3 or 7 o'clock. The first one dropped at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Didn't really touch on very much. So I think maybe 7 o'clock on Mondays I will drop it.
Nice.
So
Nice. And folks in chat, if you have any questions, please put them in chat.
yeah, absolutely. I would love to
Yeah.
hear what's on your mind. Like I said, there's no
Yeah.
dumb questions in the paranormal field. Sorry, there are some weird people in the field.
But there is.
I will give you that. But if you feel like if you watch these paranormal shows, there's a lot of misconception about these shows. Like, um, let's say, hey, you come to my house and check out my house, for residential cases, which those residential cases stay confidential,
Mm-hmm.
um, unless they sign a thing saying that we can say whatever on TV, probably,
Right.
which I've never been a part of. So, um, and I'm not one to look for being on TV or anything like that. So, um, but they think that we're gonna come in, find what we're looking for, and be done in an hour.
It doesn't
Um,
happen that way.
No, it does not. I
No.
mean, some locations could take up to 8 hours, depending on the
Mm-hmm.
location itself. If you might figure it out right away, um, and then just try to give them some options of what to do to fix what's going on.
Right.
And that's key. You always have to have people in the background. If you don't know what you can do to fix it, but you may have somebody else that may know, you always got to have that on hand to give that information to them so they can contact that other person to help them what
Right.
they need to be helped with. Um, some locations can last 2 weeks, a
Mm-hmm.
month. I've heard locations with a friend of mine that took up to a couple years. You know,
Yeah, I mean, I've done quite a few residentials, and there is no quick fix unless,
right?
if it's just a couple who getting queasy about the place weirds them out or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
they have the ability to move on, then move on, But I've spent months doing investigation at places, just trying to get to the bottom of things and trying to get the spirits feel comfortable around me.
Right.
Um,
You got to gain that trust.
yeah, yeah, and it takes time. It doesn't
It does.
come overnight.
Right. Right. And that's exactly it. I mean, there is a current family that is having issues in their house right now, and the best piece of advice that I could give them right now, because I have not been there yet to investigate it, and that's the number one rule too in the paranormal field is you don't investigate your own house. That's your home. That's your sanctuary. So you don't want to investigate because you could
Yeah,
potentially piss it off a lot worse.
yeah,
Um, but there are certain things you can do. Let's say reclaim your house. I mean,
mm-hmm.
yes, it looks weird. You're talking to the wall, you're talking to the air, but you say, "This is my house. I own this house. You don't own this house."
Right.
And just take back your house
Yeah.
and say,
Put your
"We
intent
can live."
behind it.
Yeah, exactly. We can stay here together
Mm-hmm.
and be fine. And if you can't do that, you have to move on.
Right.
And just be like that, because no person can move a spirit on unless they want to be moved
Mm-hmm.
on. And that's another point you have to make, because you can't force it. They got to be willing to go.
Right.
And
Start
so
forcing it, it's going to get pissed.
it's going to get pissed. It's going to start scratching. It's going to do other things that you don't want to happen. And then you end up selling your house and be out of your own home. You know, and nobody wants that.
No.
Nobody wants you
No.
to be out of your own home. We want you to have your home, keep your home, because you work hard to get a home.
Right.
And for something like this to kick you out of your own house, that's something that um, we strive not to happen. So, but yeah, that's one thing, small things you can do. And
Mm-hmm.
until I get that call and say, "Hey, you mind just coming over, investigating it, and see what we can get out of it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll come over and I'll try it." But
Mm-hmm.
for a paranormal investigator, you never want to go to a residential case by yourself,
No. No.
because you don't know what you're walking yourself into,
Mm-hmm.
because they could be waiting for you and say, "Hey, yeah, something's down in the basement. Can you go check for me?" And turn around, lock you in the basement, and then you're done.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
and that's what missing persons coming,
right.
you know.
Welcome in, Grim Reaper.
Hey, Grim Reaper, how you doing? So that's another key. You always want to have at least one or two people to go with you. So be in a group of
Mm-hmm.
3 people, and just do it
Yep.
together,
Yep.
so you don't get hurt. So you never know where the next
Yeah.
Charles Manson's gonna be, or
Exactly. And I tell you, I have more fears of the living than I do of the dead.
and that's just it. You do once you start figuring yourself out as to what kind of person you are in this field, and where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and start working on your
Mm-hmm.
weaknesses and improve on your strengths. Uh, you do a lot better in the field and
Yeah.
really understand other people that you work with a lot
Right.
quicker. That's my kid in the background if you can hear him.
Beautiful advice.
Yeah.
So, what's some of the gear that you use?
So the gear, yes, yes, that before. I went kind of on a tangent. Sorry.
It's all right.
Um, I'll do that from time to time. So,
Squirrel.
yeah, exactly. Uh, so Scott's got a lot of cool stuff. He just recently got the EMF tripwire,
Nice.
which we have not as a group used yet, but I have been part of some groups that have
Mm-hmm.
used it. It's a very interesting tool.
Yeah.
I like it. Spirit Talker, the app I'll use versus Necrophonics, or Spiritus, which is spirit boxes, which
Mm-hmm.
I use Necrophonics more for the SS method. So
Yeah.
the SS method, for those of you who don't know what that is the person that has the Necrophonics on, they have a set of headphones on and either a blindfold or whatever, and they can't hear me because I'm usually standing about 10 feet away, so they can't hear what I'm asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll ask questions and then they will spit out whatever the spirit box is, if it's clear enough. So that's kind of what the SS method is. So that's a good tactic to use. Some are very good with that spirit
Mm-hmm.
box stuff. The ones that really like the SB7, SB11,
Yeah.
that shit that really moves really fast or sweeps really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like Nick and Aaron, they're really good at that stuff. Me, not so much. That tends to give me a headache after about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
With the white noise, pink noise, I just can't take it.
Yeah. It's that repetitive.
Right. I
Mm-hmm.
can't. That
Yeah.
just drives me nuts. Um, so that's kind of the stuff we use with that. We got cat balls, which a lot of people call them ghost balls. I like to call it ghost
We
balls.
love we love our balls.
We love our shiny, sparkly balls. Yes. And they move and they twinkle pretty good.
Yeah.
Um, so we use that as a trigger object, and trigger objects is another big deal too. Whatever location you go to or you're heading to, really sit back and think about what trigger object you can use in that location that could really get the energy moving. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it could be simple as just moving a dresser to a different part of the room
Yeah.
and reorganizing the place, which get permission first to do that, because that can stir things up, you
Mm-hmm.
know, or like I said, whatever pertains to that location for a trigger object, definitely take that along with you. Um, so I like doing that. Um, you learn obviously you learn about the location, so you when you do an EVP session with a digital voice recorder, and I recommend putting in interview mode for those of you who get that stuff. Task cams are all right, but there's a lot of interference issues with task cams I have found out.
Yeah.
Use a Philips voice tracker is what I use, or voice tracer. Sorry, voice tracer. So that's been my go-to recorder. You'll see those Panasonic ones out there. They're $5,000. The best ghost.
The DR60.
Yes, yes. Come on, guys. Don't spend your hard-earned money on $5,000 on a digital voice recorder. I
Right.
mean, that $5,000 digital voice recorder might not catch what a $60 voice recorder will.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's not always about the price. It's always about quality and what you get out of it.
Yeah.
Um,
Use what
and
works.
And yeah, what works, right? I mean, obviously, if you're outside, like a cemetery or something like that, and you're by a certain grave, have that windscreen on your digital voice recorder, so it
Mm-hmm.
really cuts down the noise of the wind. If it's
Yeah.
not, but if it's not a windy day, it might work out real well for you. So digital voice recorders are really good. K2s are all right. Um, thermal cameras, things like the FLIR. I use
Fleur.
the FLIR.
Flu.
A lot of people call it the FLIR. I call it the FLIR. Um, those are really nice devices.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get them Android and iOS,
Yeah.
or you can get the gun type style, but the gun type styles are really expensive.
It's all expensive, man. It's all expensive.
It is. I'm not gonna bullshit you. It's all expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to go outside the box a lot.
Yeah.
So where and it's a great combination because you got Scott that has all the stuff from
Mm-hmm.
Go Stop and everything else that he
Yeah.
gets, which is great because he's learning that stuff and how to get that to work.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has the SLS and all that stuff. He doesn't have the XLS, but in time I think he'll trade that in for the XLS. Um, and he just had the Flux 2, and he and I both just didn't like it. It just didn't work out well for us. So I said, hey, just sell it and try to get most of your money back.
All right.
And what she did, he got most of his money back.
Nice.
Um, and then there's me that likes to go on the outside box of things where I won't spend a lot. Like I'll go get a ball, a glow in the dark ball from
Mm-hmm.
like the aisle from Walmart, the party aisle.
Yeah.
You got to throw up against a wall,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like on those break tube sticks that those
Yeah.
glow lights.
Yeah.
Well, it breaks in a ball, so I'll use that like $1. I'll get a balloon, and it has a light inside the balloon that you just pull the string, and then
Mm-hmm.
it's good.
Yeah.
Again, under $1.50. Let's see. I like Tesla
Yeah.
coils. I always say it all one word, and I think I'm saying testicles. But and then I
Hey, we
like
don't judge here, man.
yeah, and plasma balls are the other things I like to use because I want to. They're like EM pumps.
All right.
They factor in the area where you're at. Like, okay, nothing's really happening. Let's get this plasma ball in here, a Tesla coil, and see what happens.
Yeah.
How much of the energy gets the area gets charged up. It
Right.
all depends what happens and how long you leave it in there and just walk out. So I did an experiment at Malvern where I wasn't really getting much in the attic. I was up there for like an hour and a half by myself, which nobody usually stays up there that long.
Heat stroke.
Yeah. So then I went upstairs or I went downstairs, grabbed Taylor, and I said, "Hey Taylor, let's bring a plasma ball up here, let it run for half hour, 45 minutes, and see if the energy in the area changes."
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was, and it did work. It did change the atmosphere in the upstairs attic. Uh, so I watched the video back, and within let's say 26 minutes in of the video, all of a sudden I started hearing knocks. I heard a disembodied voice. Some people were seeing shadows moving.
Nice.
Uh, so it definitely ramped up the spot. But now with the plasma ball, you got to remember when you are using it in the room with your gear, you have to be at least 8 feet back
Right.
because it's going to set everything off. Even a K2, you got to be 8 feet away from a K2 beater, or else you're going to be at a constant full level.
Yeah.
And that's when the false positives come into play, and you don't want that.
Mm.
So the plasma ball, it's got a wider range of electricity being pumped out in the air. The Tesla coil is a smaller range, but I think it hits harder than the plasma ball.
Yeah.
We did, and again, another experiment in the bathroom at Malvern Manor where we had Taylor sitting in the bathtub. It was an empty bathtub. He had clothes on. Uh, so I just kind of put it out there. Now in this tub, supposedly this is one of the bathrooms in the manor that a lot of people have a hard time dealing with because there's a female spirit in there that likes to connect with people, and then all of a sudden they start channeling this person, and they also have to be rushed outside. Um, I digress. So he was in the tub. We had the coil on top of the tub
Yeah.
in front of him, and all of a sudden he starts itching closer and closer and closer to the coil. I'm like, what the heck's going on? And we were doing an EVP session again. Sorry, that was my kid yelling. And then um, Emmett is their cameraman for Raven Rose, and Taylor's part of Raven Rose. So he had a camera. He was filming everything, and all of a sudden his camera shuts off. And I'm like, oh boy, what's going on? And Taylor was getting weird. Things weren't making sense. And so at that point, and Cynthia just happened to come in, and she caught the last, I think, 5 minutes of what was going on, and she's like, get up, get out. You need to take a break
Yeah.
because you're just getting weird about this. So she sat in the tub. Now, what's great with Cynthia is that I can do a full on conversation with the spirit with her because she can hear him talking to her, and then she can reply the answer as to what I say
Right.
or what I ask. So it's a very good combination. Again, she started going closer and closer to the test the club. Not as close as he did, because he wanted to put his ear up against it. And I'm like, man, you can't do that. You're gonna burn your ear off. So she ended up getting out, got weirded out by it. I think we were in there for another 15, 20 minutes with her. And that was it, that experiment. Because everybody was really like seeing we put it on a display in the living room part, like, hey, this is what we're gonna try. And everybody's like, oh, that's cool shit, that's really neat, you know. And
Yeah.
the night before, me and Taylor are like, okay, we have this thing on. We were having all the equipment out around it, see as to how close we can get to before it would set the equipment off.
Right.
So we would know our distances, so we wouldn't get the false positives. And I find that shit fascinating. I think we were up to like 1 a.m. doing all sorts of stuff. And so after that, he went back into the living room part where everybody kind of sleeps at Malvern, and he sat in a chair, and that was it. He was done.
Nice.
I don't know what happened, but it took him 3 months to tell me what happened.
What happened?
It just weirded him out.
Huh?
He just felt weird. He didn't feel like himself. And yeah. So and when
was
you use
he?
stuff,
Was
what's that?
he? Was the spirit trying to interact with him or take it over? Or?
I think the spirit was trying to take over in a way because supposedly there's an elderly lady that drowned in the tub. And then you also get the chlorine smell in the room. That was pretty funky.
That is weird.
So it was a weird session, but it's something I will never forget because it's just like, holy crap, you tried something different, and this is the result that came out of it. So when you guys use the coils and the plasma balls, you got to be careful as to how long you do it for because you just don't know how weird it's.
Yeah, because you're going to be working with EMF, electromagnetic fields.
It can be like a fear cage in a way.
Exactly.
So for those of you who don't know what a fear cage is, so a fear cage is like, okay, down here in the basement where you have a washer and a dryer and a electrical box all in a row, and your high EMF is kicking in where you start feeling like somebody's watching you, and get the fear. That's why they call it hence fear cage. You get weirded out. You feel like someone's watching you, what's going on, or you start to hallucinate. You know, things like that can happen.
Right.
So just keep that in mind when you do stuff like that.
And that's why you always kind of, when you go into a place, you want to take base readings so you kind of get an idea of what you're dealing with beforehand. There's nothing worse than setting up equipment and realizing, oh shit, just the breaker panel's right underneath us. You know, some weird shit.
Or like at the museum, which brings up a good point because we were in the kids' room, and with the K2 meter, it was going off. You know, there's was a solid 3, I think it was. Had like a doll that's one of the dolls that's got some, you know, it's possessed or haunted, whatever. So we sat in a chair, and she was getting K2 readings out of it. Okay, so she got as high as like I think 5 feet. That's how tall this thing was. But as she went further back to her window, which outside the window there is a long electrical cord going outwards at the building, and as she went to the window, it got almost to a full K2 reading.
Yeah.
Because that wire was setting it off, and it's outside.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things you can debunk.
Yeah, and try to invest in the meter instead of K2s because K2s, they even if you move them really quickly,
Mm-hmm.
they go off.
Yep, absolutely.
They are
Your digital voice
they
recorder set them off.
yeah. It's
Your phone will.
they set them so low because a lot of people they're cheap and a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people use them at
Well,
these
$60
events.
is that considered cheap yet?
A lot of I've seen have been like $25, $30
Yeah,
bucks.
see, I've seen 60.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Uh,
again, Scott, he's got the Rook. We haven't used the Rook yet.
mm-hmm.
So he says that's the God mode of,
Yeah.
K2 stuff. But,
Yeah.
you got the,
Mm-hmm.
what else meter that is? Trying to think, Mel meter. You got
Oh
those,
yeah.
which
Yeah.
are really ungodly expensive.
Yeah, they kind of like the EDI.
Which I don't have. I want one. They're nice.
Trying to remember what the millimeter did. It has temperatures,
Yeah,
EMF, and all that stuff.
numbers as
Uh,
oh
they actually have modules where you can add on to them now.
oh okay. Well, that's
Um,
kind of nice. But how much does that interact and interfere with the other devices? It's part of it though.
I would
That's the thing.
think they would be compatible. I mean,
That's the thing you don't know. I mean,
mhm,
it got really. You never know what's gonna work and what doesn't work with the
mhm.
device. I mean, like the task cam, like I said, that's got. I think it picks up cell phone towers, and that not a task
Yeah,
cam is a digital voice recorder. And I have so much interference with that, I don't even want to use it anymore.
mm, yeah, and that's a pretty expensive device not to use.
Well, yeah, it's about $130 digital voice recorder.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at it because it's got bigger mics in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, can read the room a little bit better.
Remember, ladies, bigger isn't always better.
Yeah. Uh, and the see now what I switched over to the Philips actually has smaller mics, but it's got three mics instead of two. So now you got that 360 degree, you
Mm-hmm.
know, microphone there, which works a lot better and it's a lot cleaner. Um, you can download the recordings on your phone. You can set it up in a location as long as you have the recorder teamed up with the
Right.
internet and your phone's with the internet. You could actually just set it up in the attic, walk downstairs in the other room, hit record on your phone, and it'll automatically start recording.
Right.
That's pretty nice. That way you're not getting no fumbling, no handling, all that noise. Um, but I mean, that's haunted objects. I don't use. I mean,
No, and there's at least my reason, anyways, is you don't want to introduce a haunted object into another haunted building.
mm-hmm.
You,
It
you
makes
have
the
no
place
idea
rougher,
what kind of conflict that you might be creating doing that.
right?
You
And dolls, I hate dolls. I'll punt them. I'll burn
know,
them.
every time.
I hate them. Frickin' hate dolls.
Nothing worse than those little beady eyes staring at your soul, man.
Well, yeah,
It freaks me
they
out.
had a challenge for me that I had to sit in a room with, like, what was it? Because I couldn't stay up in the attic because it was super hot at that point in time. I think it was like 95 degrees up in the attic, so they wouldn't let
Yeah.
me spend the night up there. Because that was the first challenge. I was had to stay up there all night, and then that didn't happen. They had coincidentally had a room all set up for me, and it had 50 dolls I want to say in there. They're all spread out, and I'm like, oh jeez. I'm looking at these things. I'm in the pitch dark. They're recording me and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm like looking at one. I was like, I don't like you. You stay put. You move. I'm gonna punt you. And of course, these are Kim's dolls, and some of them are porcelain dolls. So you got to be careful about the porcelain dolls because they'll break. Um, but in that room, I learned a very valuable lesson though. And in that room, I had no idea that I had my $35 REM pod from Attic Junkie. which is now broken. But I had that out in the middle of the room. I had a walkie-talkie with me in case if I need to be rushed out or something, whatever. What they told me the original plan, someone was gonna be in the closet and rush me out of the closet. That was after the fact that what things happened. That was gonna be their plan.
Yeah.
Um, but every time it's like I'm using the walkie-talkie, like they couldn't hear me. I was like, what the heck? I could hear them, but they couldn't hear me. But every time I let go of the receiver, all of a sudden the REM pod started going off.
Hmm.
I'm like, oh shit, I got something here. Something's going on. And then all of a sudden I started playing with the walkie-talkie a little bit more. I'm like, ah, shit. The walkie-talkie is setting it off because they're on the same frequency. So that was a valuable lesson learned there. But at the same instance, too, things did get weird. I
Yeah.
did see a shadow person alongside the left side of the wall.
Mhm.
Heard the crickets really well because it's super quiet. But also, I kept on looking up. I'm like, what the hell is that? I always felt like something was above my head.
Hmm.
And then they spotted that there was a ball of light above my head.
Nice.
And I'm like, what the hell? Because I always felt like something was up there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that was my experience with a room full of dolls, which I know I lasted almost an hour before they pulled me out. I didn't ask to come out; they pulled me out. Which, come to find out, somebody tried to rush me from the hall in a suit, tried to scare the crap out of me. So it was all fun and games. But
Yeah. If you guys are ever in Iowa, definitely check out the Manor. It's an incredible place. The owner's incredible. Yeah.
But far as else gear goes, camera wise, okay, so I use Wise cams sometimes if I can get them set up, cheapest. I have the Phasm cam hooked up with the Phasm light, which is really good. You can also use the Phasm light on the regular camcorder itself for night vision wise. Um, those are always really nice. Like I said, I'm not very good with camera use because sometimes, most of the time, I forget about them that they're even there. I just find myself more and more with the cat balls and with my digital voice recorder and using the app on my phone. So I have all this gear, and a lot of times I forget about it because when I start investigating, I am finding myself I'm in tunnel vision. So it's like I forget about whoever else is around, and I'm just investigating.
Yeah.
So that's how I get. And a lot of times, I won't eat, I won't drink, because I'm so involved in what I'm doing that it sucks when you have a multiple group of people trying to do an EVP session, and all of a sudden you hear your stomach growling.
Yeah.
Well, tag, stomach growling, tag, I farted. Shit happens.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you definitely gotta make sure you tag that stuff, man.
Yeah, growl can sound exactly. See, this is what a growl can sound like. A growl can sound like this. So, yes, the devil.
Yeah, you gotta watch out for those demons, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions and comments? And
nothing yet. You guys have any questions before we probably go a few more minutes?
Sure. Yeah, we got started a little late because it was on my end.
It was definitely a Tuesday moment there with all the audio issues. It was weird.
Yeah. What about you, Matt? What else you got? Come on, I'm not feeling
What
the
I
heat
got?
in this seat.
Hey, I turned over a new leaf, man. I'm a different man, and yeah, I tried to make you nervous, bring you on here, thinking I was going to grill you, but that was nice, man. That was nice.
So, what about the? Let me ask you this: what is your holy grail of the paranormal?
Holy Grail. Uh, Definitely either a photo capture or a video of a full body apparition. fishing. That would be
Okay.
sweet.
So if you caught that, would that be it for you?
Oh no,
You keep on investigating?
no, definitely, definitely.
Absolutely. That's the right
Yeah,
answer because
yeah.
me, there is no end game.
No, there isn't. It's
I,
a
I, I don't have a holy grail right now. I mean, if I get everything I wanted to get, yeah, I'm glad I got to see it with my left eye. But what about my right eye?
right.
It's a whole new game now.
But even if you are visually impaired,
Right. You
there's
got other
still a
senses
lot of
too.
people who are blind that actually do investigations. There are deaf people that do investigations.
Hmm.
Great investigation
Right. You gotta
investigators.
trust your senses, what
Uh,
you have.
you just gotta compromise with the other senses and just go with
Hmm.
it.
Pan and
And
smells are always good.
yeah. Um, oh crap! I can't think of the name of that team. The deaf team.
Th- That's what they call themselves. Oh crap!
Crap! I can't think. Oh man.
And there's a squeak.
Yeah, I need a new chair. This thing is older than my freaking youngest. Um, dang, I can't think of the name of the team now. It's a deaf team.
Okay.
Uh, they did Hinsdale,
Hinsdale
and
is a good place. Even if
yeah,
you
the
don't
stuff.
investigate, watch it on Facebook Live.
Yeah,
It's always fun to watch.
they did it with a couple other teams, and it was insane the stuff that they captured.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, they just their other senses are heightened just because
Right.
they can't hear it. Everything else is super
Right.
sensitive.
And that's just it. I can't see full body or I can't see shadow people very well.
Hmm.
And that's it sucks. I mean, I did catch that one at Melbourne because the light was hitting the wall just right for me to catch it. But
Yeah.
uh it's difficult, man, when
Hmm.
they and that's when video comes into play when you catch something.
Yeah.
Um it's just one of those things. Um, but other than that, I
Hmm.
mean, yeah. What else?
Chet, any questions? Time to throw them out there.
Yeah.
JP, you've been looking forward to this for a couple months now. You got to have at least one question. JP, calling you out, brother. JP, JP.
Was that guy that you were on earlier today? Was he in chat?
Yeah, he's lurking around here somewhere. Forsaken.
All right, that's who it was. Okay, I couldn't
Uh,
remember.
actually,
I was
we
actually
are
working when I was working and listening at the same time.
we are actually hoping to get together here soon and do an investigation.
Oh, nice, nice.
They're close by, so yeah.
There you go. And that's
Yeah,
just it. I
I'm
mean, when you
just
could get a
trying
collab.
to find a place where it's not too overwhelming because a lot of
Hmm.
the places around here it can sway one way or the other. Depending on what's going on.
Right.
It could be intense or it could be dead.
And that's just it. I mean, I look for places that are cheap,
Mm-hmm.
not overly expensive,
Yeah.
and I could sleep at the location instead
Right.
versus going to a hotel because
Mm-hmm.
that's just an added expense that we don't need.
Right.
Edinburgh Manor,
Mm.
great place.
Yes.
I finally got there last year after I was
Nice.
supposed to be there in May, but I got COVID. So, with Cat Armstrong, William Armstrong, Paranormal Exposures, great team, great people to work with.
Mm.
I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah.
We got some funky stuff to happen there with me
Yeah.
and William. And the thing is what really got nice when we got the Broadhead that me and William worked up the third floor, and which is actually we're coming up probably next week on the EVP sessions. Uh, I think we just hit our stride that we really work well with each other.
Mm-hmm.
We brought a couple people up there that have never investigated before, really, and they were up there for an hour and a half with us. There's a lady that was actually up there with us that got in contact with her school science teacher, and which Bill says like, "Oh wow, you had her up there for an hour and a half. That's pretty special there you got because she only stays up for 5-10 minutes. She's got to go back down. And she's freaking out." So I mean, that's when you get that stride, when you have that working relationship with somebody like that, it makes all the difference in the
Yeah.
world. You know, again, uh, Edinburgh Manor, great place. Again, we did the run room with the pool room in there.
Nice.
Never before that they heard that they actually there's like a door, an exit that runs down like a fire escape in the back below. So
Yeah.
somebody could run up it and then do whatever. But nobody was outside. Everybody's inside because it's colder than hell. We're talking October here.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, towards our end of our session, we hear this knock on the door. And like, we're looking at each other like, what? And he was like, holy shit, that's never happened before. So it's moments like that you catch something, and yes, it's you're not going to catch everything
No.
all the time when you go to
Yeah.
these locations. Like you said, it's hit or miss.
Hmm.
Granted, you pay sometimes a stiff fee to go to a
Yeah.
location you've been waiting to go to. That's like, God, there's got to be so much stuff here, and it ends up being a dud that nothing happens. But it may be
And
just that one night.
yeah, and another thing that helps too is if your energy's high, you
Hmm.
seem to have better reaction. Uh,
Right.
Instead of going in all serious and full investigation mode, you gotta bring some joking around and make it fun,
Right. You got to
make it
loosen up a
light,
little bit. I
And
mean,
I
they'll talk to
found
you.
a lot of the places you get into that mood and whatnot, they're willing to jump in and have fun with you too. Freaking especially when they realize that you can actually interact with them,
Right.
and that's
There's been
what's the
plenty
word?
of times where we're
Yeah.
talking to each other
Hey,
in a spirit.
dabbings.
What's that?
Uh, do chat.
Oh, um, there's been plenty of times where me, Kat, Ethan, Cameron, Rude, Heidi, we were down in the janitor's room in Broadhead. This is like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, I want to say.
Yeah.
Um, and we were just chit chatting with amongst each other, and I had a spirit talker on. And all of a sudden, he goes, "Are you listening to us? Pay attention to us." So they know when you're
Yeah.
not paying
Yeah.
attention to them,
They do.
they will say something.
Forsake again. Yes, we didn't do our spirit talk Tuesday.
Yeah. You guys go over to the camera with that, or
What's that?
do you guys go on live to do that?
Yep.
Or
Every Tuesday we do a spirit box session.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Except
But
for the past Tuesday, and they're a little pissed off about it.
well, I mean, that's just like I said. I mean, it's the one thing that you try differently. That's the thing in the paranormal field is if you can come up with something different, that's always a great thing. You know,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
I strive for being different. It gets boring to be the same as everybody else.
Yeah. It's an easy routine to get into.
Yes, it
Uh,
is.
very very easy. I've noticed a few times in the past we're going to the same location. We end up doing the same things over and over and over, and it's like, well, geez, tonight we didn't really get what we usually get. I don't know
Hmm.
why, but it's because we're just doing the same shit.
Well, and the paranormal shows too. Sometimes they will display different things that we can try, like the balloon experiment.
Hmm.
Hence, Destination Fear had them on. What was it? The tripods.
Yeah.
I can't remember which building they were in, but they had balloons on the tripods. They didn't
Hmm.
have no lights in them or nothing like that. But they're trying to see what would move more versus the other, and all of a sudden one of the balloons popped, which freaked them out. So I'm like, okay, let's try this in a real setting in a real
Hmm.
place and see if this same exercise can
Right.
work
Can
in different
recreate it.
locations.
Yeah.
And for the longest, for I want to say 3 investigations, I've used the balloon, and I used it the first time at Broadhead. With Broadhead, they have a lot of kid spirits there. Okay, so I figured the balloon will work well with kid spirits.
Hmm.
Uh, So unfortunately that night I didn't really get a whole lot, but the spirit box was saying we're trying. It's
Yeah.
just nothing's moving. Again, I had them on tripods. I had tried to heighten one and lower one, and just to depend on the child's height or the
Yeah.
adult's height, and see if we can get something like that. But ever since then I broke away from the tripod. I'm like, okay, so the tripod's really not working. So let's try just free and clear, put it in the floor, and see what happens. And so it was this past Saturday, actually, up in the attic. First time. Of course, I was on the wrong side of the attic, so I didn't get to see it happen.
Yeah.
But everybody on that side of the attic saw the balloon moving and floating around. Sometimes the light would dim, sometimes the light would get brighter. So that was pretty interesting that the balloon thing happened.
Yeah.
So, and Aaron likes to use it. So more and more, the balloon experiment is starting to get out there more. You'll see it more on Facebook Lives.
Mhm.
So that's a really neat experiment. Um, again, Tesla coils
Mhm.
are another one that's not really seen very often,
Yeah.
but it is becoming more of um, an object that's going to be used more. I think now that people know what it does.
Right. And that's the thing, you know. This is stuff that we've mentioned out of the box type of thinking years ago.
Hmm.
That's finally catching on.
Right.
It's relatively cheap to do these experiments.
Well, yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, how else are you
it's
advance in the paranormal field if you don't do it?
exactly, and you need more people doing these experiments, and
Hmm.
just to see what kind of reactions we're getting, and then
I mean,
compare.
the other thing too that's new is the human pendulum.
Mm,
Have you seen that one?
yeah, yeah. I'm kind of iffy on that one. It's
So, and that's okay because
mm,
the human pendulum. For those that, like I said in the audience that don't know, it's you surrounded around with a bunch of other people. You're in the middle, and you're closing your eyes, and you're just like standing there, and basically it's like you're letting the spirit tug your body left
mm,
and right type of deal. Like
yeah,
if you have a pendulum in your hand and watching that thing move, like show me yes, show me no,
mm-hmm,
stuff like that. But instead of using the pendulum in your hand, you're using your body. Um, but until you do it, you'll understand it more.
yeah,
For those who have vertigo, like me, uh, I probably never will do it.
mm,
Um, it's just one of those things that it's just like the SLS camera.
yeah.
I'm on the fence
It's
about it.
the human pendulum. It's mostly they do it because a lot of people, their minds, when you have your eyes closed when you're doing it,
Hmm. You're
you're
hoping that they'll catch you.
well, that is, yeah, exactly. But your mind has that takes over the instinct of keeping your balance of because you end up pretty much losing your balance because you have your eyes closed,
Hmm.
uh, especially after a while, because your mind doesn't really know whether you're up or down, left or right, or whatever. So that inflicts a lot onto that experiment itself,
Right.
as far as whether it was the person or spiritual. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Hmm. You also have that trust in others that are
Mm,
around you.
yeah.
You know, and that's who knows.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe the other thing
I
too.
investigate with a lot of dicks. I'm going to admit that. The
Well,
last
yeah.
thing I
If
want
they're not, if they don't
to
like you, they're gonna let you fall flat on your head and knock yourself
They're
out.
going to
But
do it just to get the fucking fun.
right, right. Another thing too that's really starting to pick up is my friend Thomas Hunsaker. He has these scrying mirrors, black mirrors,
Yeah.
and so he's got a bunch of them in different locations, and one soon to become to the museum. I'm thinking June. I'm not
Yeah.
sure when, but and then he's got the mirrors down in his basement, so as a connection, okay,
Mm-hmm.
so he can see primarily what's going on in the location probably.
Yeah.
So their goal is to see how much of those mirrors are connecting with one another in each location, and so to speak, if a spirit can cross over from that building to go to the next building where the other mirror is, which I don't we're not sure if
Hmm.
that can even happen or be done. Um, and granted, I hope for my sake at the museum that it can't be done. And I employ, sorry,
Hmm.
my cat. It's my cat. Um, I implore that for those that want to do it, I'd say do it. Um, if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, I wouldn't do it unless you're doing it with somebody else
Right.
that can teach you how to do it, because
Yes.
it could get very dangerous
Mm-hmm.
very fast. Things can come through that you don't know of. So there will be directions and a surveillance camera on it at the museum, because that's the last thing I want is some other spirit from another location to come into the museum and
Right.
you know torment that museum.
Right.
So um,
Oh, that'd definitely be interesting in the results.
well, yeah, and that's just that he makes people write down exactly as to what they come across.
Nice.
So I'm excited, but I definitely don't want like Augusta to go somewhere and torment another place, and
Mm-hmm.
Ed Gein going somewhere and torment another place. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Right.
those are our spirits at our location that need to stay in our location and not go anywhere else.
Yeah.
You know, but who's to say they're even there?
Mm-hmm.
That's our opinion. We think they're there. Other people may not think they're there, but that's something that when you come to a museum,
Thank you for a
you
second.
have to find out for yourself.
Yeah.
That's why I don't when I promote the building, I don't promote them at all.
Right.
Um, it's just because I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's so many other spirits. There's kid spirits. There's sheriff spirit. There's a piano, a lunch lady.
Mm-hmm.
So many
Wait,
different
you got a
spirits
spirit of a
there.
piano?
There's a piano lady that likes to come down
Oh.
and yeah. Um, she'll punch you if you don't like you're messing around with her keys.
Nice.
She'll come and either for me, she punched me on the arm twice. She pinched Lori on the arm last time.
Sweet.
So, it's we got so many spirits there that I don't want to give favoritism over the other spirits that are there. I want them all to just, you know,
Right.
and that's just my intake it because
Mm-hmm.
why promote two spirits, predominantly spirits that are infamous and that I don't want to give them that
Right.
attention.
Yeah.
It's for you and yourself only when you get to the museum is when you give them their attention
Mm-hmm.
to see if they're there. But I won't promote it on
Right.
anything like you know stuff like that. So
Mm.
because that's where I'll get in trouble because that's the county doesn't want to hear it. The
Yeah.
promotion. Oh yeah, we got this and this spirit, and come on down and see what you can get.
Yeah.
And
Right.
no, they
Yeah.
just say there's many spirits here. Come down and check them out.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Suppose
best
that. Yep.
safe way to do it.
Yep.
But other than that, no questions.
No questions at all, man.
Holy man! Wow.
JP, still calling you out, brother. JP
Well,
broke
I'll
down.
just I'll give my credentials out.
Actually, yeah.
So if you guys are wanting to follow me on YouTube, I'm under MGS Paranormal on YouTube. And like I said, I do the EVP sessions. I do live investigations. They get posted on there. Um, and I do shows. I do Paranormal Question of the Day. So that's also on um, YouTube as well, which also transpires into Facebook, which is the Paranormal Brew, BB3 TV network, um, and soon as when they're ready to start, I'll probably be part of Parafly, which is Thomas Hunsaker and Sarah Jo Galvin's network.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Um,
Congratulations.
Thank you. And then there's the Paranormal Buzz Radio on Spreaker.com. You can catch the Paranormal Bus Stop every third Monday of the month, starting this coming up Monday. We are talking about serial killers and the paranormal.
Nice.
So that is Monday's topic. Like I said, 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 Eastern. And, for Paranormal Buzz Radio, there's so many uh, radio shows to watch. Paranormal REP, Shay's Paranormal Chat, Traveler's Moon. Sorry if I forget
REP
some of those.
Paranormal.
REP Paranormal.
Let's see,
You know, I don't want to forget one, but I know I
Yeah.
will. So,
Plus,
please
they just
forgive me.
added, what, 2 or 3 new shows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, go to Paranormal Buzz Radio on Spreaker.com. You'll find all the shows there. Just look up Paranormal Buzz Radio, and it'll show you all the shows that's under the Paranormal Buzz Radio banner.
Yes.
And then, like I said, BB3 TV, Paranormal Buzz, or not Paranormal Buzz, Paranormal Brew, which is the Paranormal Question of the Day, which Taryn Kerper usually comes in and hosts me on Mondays. Fridays, I am by myself, but I do have a lot of guests on. Or I'll just throw that random question out there, like I did tonight, what's your version of the Holy Grail? Paranormal.
Right.
Stuff like that. I'll just throw it out there, wait for you to comment, whatnot. There's a lot of great people that come in to chat, and we can just have like an hour chat.
Right.
It's just a lot of fun. You get a lot accomplished with just one question.
Right.
So there's that, and yeah, like I said, I investigate a lot of locations. So just keep your eyes peeled, and then also I just got on Twitch. So Darren Buss is one line there. So for those of you, like I said, I'm just new to Twitch, so I'm getting used to things there. So we'll see where that takes us. And I thank you for follows. If you decide to follow me, I greatly appreciate it. And just chime in and watch more of the shows, and just I do it for educational reasons, and willing to help anybody else that needs help. I mean, like I said, if I'm on Facebook, and you're on there and have a question, like,
Yeah.
hey, I got this problem going on, just don't be afraid to reach out. I can
Yes.
either lead you in the right direction, or I give you somebody else's Facebook page that they can help you with that certain problem.
Right.
I mean, that's what we're here for. We're here to help. I do not charge anything for coming to your house, because I believe not to. We're there to help you. So that's why I do not charge to do a residential location. But going to events and stuff like that at the Washoe County Historical Museum, it is $30 a person donation in cash
Yeah.
for an 8-hour investigation. So that's
Nice.
per person. But other than that, here, for those of you, if you want to screenshot it, I'm going to try and get my card out. Let's see how this works, Matt. That bumps off my phone. There we go. So there's my card right there. If you want to screenshot it or whatever how you want to go about it, or go back in recording. And then this is the back. This is what I really stand for. And that's a great line from my friend Roland Gerodius, the late great Roland Gerodius. So, yeah. So that's my story.
Awesome. And it's been a great story, and like I said earlier, the personal growth I've seen in you over the years has been amazing, man. You do a lot. I mean, you're always out there supporting everyone,
Gotcha.
whether you like them or not.
Right.
You're always out there.
I'm not gonna bash anybody. I mean, that's just I can't do that on air. And I don't want to get into the theatrics and the conversations in the background. It's not a fun thing to deal with.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So I just keep my thoughts to myself.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not, but you gotta
Yep.
do you.
Yeah, there's a time and a place
Yeah,
to speak up when you need to speak
yeah.
up.
Any questions in chat, folks? If not, all right. I'm gonna raid out. Darren, if you stick around for a moment,
Okay.
we're gonna raid out. This time I'll give Ray, good buddy Ray, a raid. Everyone, appreciate you guys coming here to the season 1, episode 1 of The Crossroads with our special guest Darren Buss of Midwest Go Seekers. And we do have his socials up there. If you want to give him a follow.
Greatly appreciate it, and thank you all for joining us tonight.
And like I said, he does a lot on YouTube. The Paranormal Question of the Day is amazing. He also does live events on there also. Yeah. Make sure you guys give it a follow.
I have to say that the next Paranormal Question Day is coming up on the 28th, I believe. What day is that? Is that a Monday or is that a Friday? Can't think of it.
Friday, I believe.
Okay, Friday. So Paranormal Question Day is returning on the 28th of February. I just kind of took a small break. You kind of wear yourself out a little bit. And I'll have Nick Sarlo on, which he is a very interesting. Sorry, I get all choked up talking about Nick Sarlo. He's a very interesting guy.
Nice.
He does a lot of events for buildings. Spirits in the Spring, I believe.
We're actually going to raid out.
Uh,
Appreciate you guys. And I'll be back tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern.